This video addresses the main points of high school teacher David Chandler's video, South Tower Smoking Guns. Mr. Chandler's claims are directly contradicted by leading demolitions experts such as Mark Loiseau, Brent Blanchard, and Ron Craig. His analysis is directly contradicted by the teams of qualified structural engineers who were employed by the National Institute of Standards and Technology, by world-leading structural engineers from several universities, including Dr. Bazant, an engineering perspective of the collapse of WTC-1, papers by other scientists such as Gregory Urich, by Dr. Frank Greening, Ryan Mackey, NASA scientist. Okay, let's examine the claims of Mr. Chandler's latest video.
Notice the numerous explosions on the west side of the building above the impact point.
There is thick black smoke coming from the tower fires. Black smoke is associated with hydrocarbon fires. Think Kuwait oil fields. The explosions Mr. Chandler refers to are the same color of smoke and become noticeable after the collapse has already begun. Now, in very slow motion, please note that the black smoke plumes occur after the collapse has begun, not before. This demonstrates that they are a result of the collapse, not the cause of collapse. Notice here that the new ejected plumes are not black, but gray in color. This effect is entirely caused by escaping air. To corroborate this observation about ejected plumes, it is useful to view a total building collapse that involves no explosives or fires. The following building was demolished by a technique known as verinage, where hydraulics collapse as little as one floor and gravitational collapse follows. While there is no explosion, nonetheless there are plumes of material ejected. This material is only produced once the collapse is underway. Let's look at it again in slow motion so you can see how the plumes are ejected by air forced out by the collapse. Similar plumes in both cases, no explosives required to produce this effect. Why is so much air being forced out of the building? The WTC buildings were constructed as tube within a tube designs. They were mostly empty space, or air. This silhouette shot captures the largely hollow design. As the upper block of the building began to descend, an enormous volume of air had to escape due to compression. This was not unlike a piston inside an engine cylinder. Mathematics in the paper by Bazant, Lee et al. Described these wind velocities based on the equation below. Quote, "It is clear that the exit airspeed is of the order of 500 miles an hour, and that its fluctuations must reach the speed of sound. There are eyewitness accounts of people flying through the air in the stairwells due to the rush of air. That was when the wind started, even before the noise. No one realizes about the wind. The building was pancaking down, in the process blasting air down the stairwell. Lim says Komorowski flew over him." Toronto explosives expert Ron Craig explained that such black plumes are not indicative of explosives.
When an explosive changes from a solid to a gas almost instantly, creating heat and pressure equally in all directions, it creates a flash. But it's a very violent flash, and the flashes that I saw actually were carbon fuel, and they were lazy, they were broiling, and they had black smoke coming from them, all of which indicates that it was a carbon fuel.
Seismic records also show no evidence of high explosives. High explosives are very loud, easily audible from a block away. Here's what it actually sounded like directly below WTC-2. Let's compare with a good-sized demolition from about 450 feet away. very loud, unmistakable explosions and bright flashes. Now, another close-up of WTC-2. Notice the complete absence of characteristics of explosive implosion.
This is as close as we can get to the base of the World Trade Center. You can see the firemen assembled here, the police officers, FBI agents, and you can see the two towers.
Do you hear a loud explosion? No. Look for bright flashes. There aren't any.
A huge explosion now, raining debris on all of us. We better get out of the way.
This is simply not an explosive demolition of any kind. It is, as described by numerous peer-reviewed engineering papers, a catastrophic, fire-induced collapse of a gigantic tower. This concludes part 1 of my rebuttal to David Chandler's smoking gun video.